Captain Veltar adjusted his breathing apparatus as he reviewed the distress signals flooding his communication array. The Zelkari Consortium had made him wealthy over the decades, selling weapons to desperate civilizations across the galaxy. His reptilian features showed no emotion as he studied the primitive transmissions from something called the Sol system. The creatures identifying themselves as humans were broadcasting on every frequency imaginable. Their messages were crude, translated through basic universal protocols, but their desperation was crystal clear. Something about massive rocks from space threatening to destroy their homeworld. Veltar's 4 arms worked efficiently across his control panels, analyzing the tactical data these humans had foolishly included in their broadcasts. Their technology was pathetic. Chemical rockets that barely escaped their planet's gravity well. Kinetic weapons that relied on simple projectiles. Energy sources that still depended on splitting atoms rather than manipulating matter at the quantum level. Veltar's mandibles clicked in what his species considered laughter. These humans were exactly the type of customers the consortium preferred, desperate enough to pay premium prices, primitive enough to never become competitors. The journey to Sol took 3 standard galactic cycles. Veltar used the time to research human physiology and psychology from the galactic database. Bipedal mammals with short lifespans and emotional decision-making processes. Perfect for exploitation. They seemed to have recently discovered they were not alone in the universe, which explained their clumsy attempts at interstellar communication. When Veltar's massive trading vessel dropped out of hyperspace near the 3rd planet, the human response was immediate and chaotic. Dozens of primitive ships launched from their homeworld, broadcasting welcome messages in hundreds of different languages. Their excitement was almost embarrassing to witness. The meeting took place aboard Veltar's ship. The human delegation consisted of 5 individuals wearing crude environmental suits. Their leader introduced himself as Commander Kim Daeho of something called the Terran Defense Force. The human's voice shook slightly as he spoke through the translation device. "We are honored by your presence," Kim said, his head bowing in what Veltar recognized as a submissive gesture. "Our world faces destruction within one of your standard years. Asteroid impacts will eliminate most life on our planet unless we can establish proper defensive systems." Veltar studied the human commander carefully. Kim's hands trembled as he presented holographic displays showing massive space rocks hurtling toward Earth. The projected impact scenarios were devastating, global extinction events that would render the planet uninhabitable for centuries. The other humans in the delegation looked equally desperate. A female scientist named Dr. Han Ji-woo provided technical specifications for their current defensive capabilities. Their most powerful weapons could barely scratch the surface of the approaching asteroids. Another human, Admiral Cho Sung-minute, outlined their industrial capacity and available resources. Veltar was impressed despite himself. For such a primitive species, humans had remarkable organizational skills and surprising mineral wealth. Their planet was rich in rare earth elements that the consortium valued highly. More importantly, they had vast populations willing to work in dangerous mining operations throughout their solar system. "We can offer you salvation," Veltar announced, his translator converting his words into the human's crude language. "The Zelkari Consortium specializes in planetary defense systems. For civilizations at your technological level, we recommend our basic security package." He activated his holographic display, showing sleek plasma cannons capable of vaporizing asteroids from impressive distances. Energy shields that could protect entire continents. Automated targeting systems that required minimal training to operate. The technology was centuries old by consortium standards, but it would seem miraculous to these humans. Commander Kim's eyes widened as he studied the projections. "This technology could save our entire species," he whispered, his voice filled with awe. "What would you require in exchange?" The negotiation was almost too easy. Veltar had expected at least token resistance, some attempt at bargaining. Instead, Kim immediately accepted every term. Mining rights to 3 of their outer planets. Labor contracts for 10 million humans to work consortium facilities throughout the sector. Exclusive trading privileges for rare earth elements. Payment schedules that would keep the humans indebted for generations. Dr. Han asked technical questions about the weapons systems, taking detailed notes as Veltar provided basic operational information. Her enthusiasm was touching in its naivety. These humans actually believed they could understand consortium technology with their primitive scientific knowledge. The signing ceremony took place on the human homeworld. Veltar found the planet's surface uncomfortable, too much gravity, primitive atmospheric composition, and the constant noise from billions of inhabitants. But the mining surveys confirmed his initial assessment. This world was incredibly valuable. Commander Kim signed the contracts with steady hands, his earlier nervousness replaced by determination. Our children will remember this day, he said solemnly. The day humanity was saved by the generosity of the Zelkari Consortium. Veltar's ships began immediate deployment of the defensive systems. Plasma cannon platforms positioned at strategic points throughout the solar system. Shield generators installed on the major population centers. The humans watched everything with fascination, asking endless questions and taking measurements whenever possible. Loading the precious cargo took several weeks. Human workers operated with impressive efficiency, extracting rare metals and crystals under consortium supervision. Their enthusiasm never seemed to diminish, even during the most dangerous mining operations. As his fleet prepared to depart, Veltar made his final log entry about the Sol system. These humans would provide excellent long-term profits. Their desperation made them reliable customers, and their primitive technology ensured they would never challenge consortium superiority. He scheduled a return visit for 6 months, anticipating another profitable exchange once the humans realized how much additional equipment they would need. The asteroids were successfully destroyed within days of his departure, validating the effectiveness of consortium technology and ensuring human gratitude for generations to come. Captain Veltar's breathing apparatus hissed with anticipation as his ship approached the Sol system after 6 months away. The journey had been profitable. He had sold defensive weapons to 3 other primitive civilizations and collected payment from 2 previous customers. The humans should be ready for additional purchases by now, probably desperate for maintenance contracts and upgrade packages. His confidence evaporated the moment his sensors detected the outer system patrol. Sleek vessels moved through space with precision that made his own advanced ship seem clumsy. The energy signatures were familiar yet wrong, plasma-based weapons, but far more powerful than anything the consortium had provided. Impossible, Veltar muttered, his 4 arms working frantically across his sensor array. The readings had to be incorrect. These primitive humans could not have developed such advanced technology in mere months. The communication came through crisp and clear, using perfect galactic standard protocols. Zelkari vessel, this is Captain Lee Minute-Ho of the TDF Determination. We have you on our sensors. Please identify yourself and state your business in Sol space. Veltar's mandibles clicked nervously. The human's tone was polite but carried an authority that had not existed during his previous visit. More disturbing was the casual confidence in the transmission. No desperation, no pleading, just professional courtesy. This is Captain Veltar of the Zelkari Consortium, he replied, trying to maintain his usual merchant composure. I am returning to complete our previous trade agreement and discuss additional business opportunities. The response came immediately. Of course, Captain. Commander Kim is expecting you. We will provide an escort to Earth orbit. The escort consisted of 6 human vessels that surrounded Veltar's ship with movements so coordinated they seemed choreographed. Each ship displayed weapon signatures that registered as military-grade threats on his defensive systems. These were not the desperate primitives he had left 6 months ago. The meeting location had changed as well. Instead of his own ship, the humans had constructed a space station in Earth orbit. The structure was elegant and functional, incorporating design principles that Veltar recognized as advanced engineering concepts. His ship docked with mechanical precision guided by automated systems that operated flawlessly. Commander Kim Dae-ho greeted him in the station's main conference room, but the human had transformed completely. Gone was the trembling desperation and submissive posture. Kim moved with quiet confidence, his bearing suggesting someone accustomed to command and success. His uniform was different too, cleaner, more professional, bearing insignia that suggested significant promotion. Captain Veltar, welcome back to Sol System, Kim said warmly, gesturing to a chair that had been modified to accommodate Veltar's alien physiology. I trust your journey was pleasant. The casual politeness was more unnerving than outright hostility would have been. Veltar settled into the chair carefully, his eyes scanning the room for clues about what had changed. The technology visible in the conference room was sophisticated, holographic displays, environmental controls, communication systems that operated at galactic standard levels. Your asteroid threat has been resolved. Veltar asked, trying to regain control of the conversation. Kim smiled genuinely. Completely eliminated within 2 weeks of your departure. Your plasma cannons performed exactly as promised. We were particularly impressed with the quantum focusing mechanisms and the energy matrix stabilizers. The technical terminology surprised Veltar. During their previous meeting, the humans had barely understood basic energy weapon principles. Now Kim was casually discussing advanced engineering concepts that typically required decades of study to master. We did make some modifications to improve performance, Kim continued, activating a holographic display. Would you like to see our results? The demonstration began with familiar plasma cannon technology, identical to what Veltar had provided. Then Kim showed the human modifications. The energy output readings made Veltar's breathing apparatus malfunction briefly. Power levels that should have been impossible with human industrial capacity. Efficiency ratings that exceeded consortium military specifications. This cannot be accurate, Veltar protested, studying the data projections. These power levels would require antimatter fuel sources and quantum-grade focusing crystals. Kim nodded enthusiastically. Exactly right. We developed both within the first month. Our scientists found your original designs quite inspiring, but we noticed several areas where improvements were possible. The energy conversion process was particularly inefficient in the original configuration. The human activated another display showing side-by-side comparisons. The consortium weapons that Veltar had considered state-of-the-art were clearly inferior to the human modifications. Power output increased by 300%, energy consumption reduced by half, targeting accuracy improved beyond military standards. Dr. Han Ji-woo entered the conference room carrying data tablets and technical specifications. She looked as confident as Kim, her previous nervous excitement replaced by professional competence. Captain Veltar, we have completed our analysis of your plasma cannon technology. The theoretical foundations were solid, but the practical applications were somewhat limited. She presented detailed engineering diagrams showing exactly how the humans had improved every component. Plasma generation systems redesigned for maximum efficiency. Targeting computers enhanced with advanced artificial intelligence. Energy storage systems that could maintain peak performance for extended periods. Veltar studied the technical data with growing alarm. These modifications represented centuries of weapons development compressed into months. The humans had not simply copied consortium technology, they had fundamentally improved it using engineering principles that challenged basic assumptions about plasma weapon design. How did you achieve these improvements so quickly? He asked, his translator struggling to convey his species equivalent of bewilderment. Kim exchanged glances with Dr. Han before answering. We have always been fast learners. Your technology provided an excellent starting point, but we prefer to understand how things work rather than simply using them. Once we understood the underlying principles, improvements became obvious. The casual way Kim dismissed months of intensive weapons research as obvious improvements sent cold fear through Veltar's system. These humans were not following normal technological development patterns. They were advancing at rates that violated everything he understood about primitive civilizations. We are interested in expanding our defensive capabilities, Kim continued smoothly. Perhaps you could provide military-grade antimatter weapons? We are prepared to pay premium rates for advanced technology. Every instinct Veltar possessed screamed warnings about providing more advanced weapons to these rapidly evolving humans. But the offered payment was triple standard rates, and the profit margins were impossible to ignore. His greed overcame his growing fear of what these humans might become. Veltar's ship trembled as he dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. 3 months had passed since his last visit, barely enough time for most civilizations to properly install new weapon systems. He expected to find the humans still learning to operate their antimatter weapons, perhaps struggling with the complex maintenance procedures that such advanced technology required. The sensor readings that greeted him defied every law of technological development he understood. Human vessels patrolled the system boundaries with weapons that registered power levels beyond anything in his military database. The antimatter signatures were familiar but impossibly amplified, as if the humans had found ways to compress stellar-level energy into ship-mounted weapons. His communications officer, a nervous Zelkari female named Sekere, turned from her console with wide eyes. Captain, the human vessels are broadcasting on frequencies that require quantum-grade communication arrays. Those systems cost more than most planetary defense budgets. Veltar studied the tactical display with growing dread. The human ships moved in formation patterns that suggested advanced military doctrine. Their positioning demonstrated understanding of three-dimensional combat principles that took most civilizations centuries to develop. These were not the desperate primitives he had exploited just months earlier. The standard greeting from the humans confirmed his worst fears. Captain Lee Minutho's voice carried the calm authority of someone commanding superior firepower. Zelkari vessel, welcome to Sol space. Please maintain current trajectory for security scanning. Security scanning. The humans were now treating his advanced consortium warship as a potential threat requiring inspection. Veltar's 4 arms worked frantically across his controls, analyzing the scanning beams directed at his vessel. The technology was beyond his understanding, energy patterns that seemed to examine his ship down to the molecular level. Your vessel appears to be armed with standard consortium plasma cannons and defensive shields, came Minutho's casual observation. Interesting design choices for a merchant vessel. The implied threat was unmistakable. The humans had analyzed his military-grade weapons systems and found them unremarkable. Veltar realized that his ship, once capable of dominating entire star systems, was now merely tolerated in human space. The meeting with Commander Kim took place aboard the human flagship, a vessel that dwarfed Veltar's ship despite being constructed entirely within the Sol system. The corridors displayed technology that hurt his eyes to examine, materials that seemed to bend light around themselves, energy conduits that pulsed with contained antimatter, artificial gravity systems that operated without detectable machinery. Kim greeted him in what the humans called an observation lounge, a transparent chamber that offered spectacular views of Earth and its surrounding space. The planet below was transformed, massive orbital installations, energy collection arrays, construction facilities that seemed to stretch across entire continents. Your antimatter weapons performed admirably, Kim said without preamble, settling into a chair across from Veltar. We were particularly interested in the containment field generators and the matter-antimatter mixing chambers. Veltar noticed immediately that Kim no longer bothered with polite small talk or expressions of gratitude. The human spoke with the confidence of someone holding all the advantages in any negotiation. We made several improvements to increase efficiency and safety, Kim continued, activating a holographic display. The original design had some limitations that we found concerning. The technical specifications that appeared made Veltar's breathing apparatus malfunction completely. The humans had not simply modified his antimatter weapons, they had fundamentally redesigned them using principles that challenged basic physics. Energy output levels that should have required stellar mass fuel sources. Containment systems that operated beyond theoretical safety margins. These readings must be incorrect, Veltar managed to say through his translator's emergency protocols. Antimatter weapons cannot achieve these power levels without destroying their host vessels. Kim smiled with the patience of someone explaining simple concepts to a child. That was true with the original containment technology. We developed new approaches that allow for much more efficient energy extraction. The theoretical foundations in your designs were sound, but the practical applications were quite limited. Dr. Han entered the lounge carrying data tablets filled with technical specifications. She looked at Veltar with the mild interest scientists showed toward primitive specimens. Captain, we have completed our analysis of antimatter weapon technology. The results exceeded our initial projections for improvement potential. She presented comparison charts showing Veltar's original weapons alongside human modifications. The differences were staggering, power increases that made his military arsenal look like ceremonial decorations. Efficiency improvements that reduced fuel requirements by 90%. Safety systems that eliminated the possibility of containment failure. How? Was all Veltar could manage to ask. Dr. Han consulted her data tablets casually. We discovered that antimatter reactions could be controlled at the quantum level using modified gravitational fields. The original designs relied on simple magnetic containment, which severely limited energy extraction efficiency. The casual way she dismissed decades of consortium weapons research as simple and limited sent terror through Veltar's system. These humans were advancing beyond anything he had encountered in 50 years of trading with primitive civilizations. After the technical presentation, Veltar excused himself and contacted his ship. He needed to reach the Galactic Trade Station immediately. Something was happening with the humans that required urgent discussion with other merchants. The journey to the trade station took 2 days. Veltar used the time to review everything he knew about human technological development. The pattern was clear but impossible. Each piece of technology he provided was rapidly mastered, improved beyond recognition, and mass-produced at impossible scales. The Galactic Trade Station existed in neutral space, serving merchants from hundreds of civilizations. Veltar had conducted business here for decades, but he had never seen the merchant community in such agitated discussion. Conversations stopped when he entered the main trading floor, and dozens of eyes from various species turned toward him with expressions he recognized as fear. Captain Thoa eyes of the Vorthak collective approached him immediately. The insectoid merchant's mandibles clicked nervously as he spoke. Veltar, you have been trading with the humans from Sol system. Tell me, have you experienced unusual technological advancement rates? Veltar's confirmation sent ripples of concern chittering through the assembled merchants. Though Eyes explained his own experience with growing agitation. He had sold the humans basic faster-than-light drive technology 6 weeks earlier. Within days, human exploration vessels had appeared in distant sectors using FTL systems that operated beyond theoretical speed limits. Merchant Zixara of the Crimson Syndicate joined their conversation, her scaled features showing obvious distress. I traded personal shield technology to the humans last month. Simple defensive fields for individual protection. They now have force field generators protecting entire cities. The energy requirements should be impossible with their industrial capacity. Similar stories emerged from merchants throughout the station. The hegemony had sold basic medical scanners. Humans now possessed healing technology that could repair cellular damage in real time. The Outer Rim traders had provided simple mining equipment. Human operations were now extracting resources from gas giant atmospheres using techniques that violated known engineering principles. They do not just copy our technology, whispered Zixara, her voice barely audible through her species translation device. They understand it completely, then make it better. Much better. Veltar compiled reports from 17 different civilizations that had traded with humans. The pattern was identical in every case: initial human desperation, rapid technological mastery, then advancement beyond the original specifications. Every merchant reported the same disturbing conclusion: the humans were becoming technologically superior to their teachers within months of first contact. What have we done? Veltar muttered, staring at the accumulated evidence. The galaxy's merchant community had unknowingly created something unprecedented, a civilization that could absorb and improve any technology they encountered at rates that defied natural development patterns. The implications were terrifying. If the humans continued advancing at these rates, they would soon possess technology beyond anything known to galactic civilization. The desperate primitives who had begged for basic defensive weapons were rapidly becoming the most technologically advanced species in known space. Veltar's breathing apparatus struggled to maintain proper function as his shuttle approached lunar colony. The human moon base had grown beyond recognition since his first visit to Sol system. What began as simple mining operations now sprawled across the lunar surface like a metallic city, connected by transport tubes and energy conduits that pulsed with contained power. Commander Kim Dae-ho waited at the docking port with the same relaxed confidence that had replaced his earlier desperation. His uniform bore new insignia suggesting promotions and expanded responsibilities. More unsettling was his casual manner. He greeted Veltar like an old friend rather than a crucial business partner. "Captain Veltar, welcome to Lunar Research Facility," Kim said warmly, guiding him through corridors that hummed with barely contained energy. "We wanted to show our appreciation for your initial assistance. Your weapons trade provided exactly the foundation we needed to begin our real work." The corridors were filled with technology that challenged Veltar's understanding of physics. Transparent walls revealed laboratories where humans worked with materials that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Energy fields contained experiments that produced light patterns his eyes could not properly process. Automated systems moved through the facility with precision that suggested artificial intelligence beyond galactic standards. Dr. Park So-young met them at the main laboratory entrance. She wore the same confident expression that now characterized all human interactions, but her eyes held an enthusiasm that bordered on dangerous excitement. Her greeting was polite but brief. Clearly, she was eager to begin demonstrations. "Captain Veltar, we are honored to show you our recent developments," she said, leading them into a laboratory that stretched beyond visual limits. "Your technology provided excellent starting points, but we discovered that most galactic civilizations think too conservatively about potential applications." The laboratory contained workstations that defied easy categorization. Some areas resembled medical facilities, others looked like weapons manufacturing centers, and several sections appeared to be studying fundamental forces of reality itself. Human technicians moved between stations with easy familiarity, treating impossibly advanced equipment like common tools. Dr. Park activated the first demonstration with casual efficiency. "Your basic medical scanners inspired interesting developments. We realized that if technology could identify biological problems, it could also create them." The display showed microscopic robots, nanobots smaller than individual cells. But these were not the healing devices Veltar had sold to other civilizations. These nanobots moved with predatory purpose, targeting specific genetic markers and systematically destroying cellular structures. Biological warfare agents that can eliminate entire populations while leaving infrastructure intact, Dr. Park explained cheerfully. They can be programmed to target specific species, genetic groups, or even individual DNA signatures. Much more precise than traditional weapons. Veltar watched the nanobots work with growing horror. His people had developed medical technology to heal, the humans had turned it into tools for selective genocide. The casual way Dr. Park discussed mass murder made his translator struggle to find appropriate terms. The second demonstration involved familiar mining equipment, but transformed beyond recognition. The simple laser cutters Veltar knew had been combined with antimatter focusing technology and quantum field manipulators. Standard mining lasers were quite limited, Dr. Park continued, activating a device that made space itself seem to bend. We enhanced them with principles from your antimatter weapons and discovered they could affect planetary geology directly. The targeting display showed a small asteroid positioned safely outside the lunar facility. The enhanced mining laser fired once, a brief pulse of energy that seemed almost gentle. The asteroid simply ceased to exist, not destroyed but somehow erased from reality itself. Planet-cracking weapons disguised as industrial equipment, Dr. Park said with satisfaction. Very useful for eliminating heavily defended worlds without the expense of extended sieges. Veltar realized that humans had turned simple mining tools into weapons capable of destroying entire civilizations. The implications were staggering. Any human industrial facility could potentially house weapons of mass destruction. The third demonstration focused on transportation technology. Dr. Park showed him modified faster-than-light drives that had been combined with antimatter containment systems and gravitational field manipulators. Your colleague Captain Though Eyes provided basic FTL technology, she said, referencing information that made Veltar's blood run cold. The humans were tracking all merchant activities across the galaxy. We found the original drives quite inefficient for their potential applications. The modified drive activated within a containment field. Instead of simply bending space for faster travel, it seemed to tear reality itself. The energy patterns created visible distortions that hurt to observe directly. Reality warping missiles that can be fired across galactic distances, Dr. Park explained with the same enthusiasm she might discuss gardening techniques. They arrive at their targets by bypassing normal space entirely. No defense systems can detect or intercept weapons that do not follow standard physics. The demonstration continued with dozens of similar examples. Medical equipment turned into targeted plague weapons. Communication systems modified to control entire populations through neural manipulation. Agricultural technology enhanced to destroy planetary ecosystems while appearing to improve them. Dr. Park moved to the final demonstration area with obvious excitement. This section contained equipment that seemed to exist partially outside normal reality. Energy patterns swirled in configurations that made Veltar's vision blur and his translator emit error signals. Your antimatter technology was quite interesting, she said, activating controls that seemed to respond to thoughts rather than physical manipulation. But we realized that you were thinking far too small about the fundamental nature of matter and energy. She gestured toward a device that seemed simultaneously simple and impossibly complex. Why contain antimatter when you can manipulate the quantum fields that determine reality itself? The device activated with no visible controls. Space around it began to ripple like liquid, bending in directions that should not exist. Matter within the effect zone seemed to lose coherence, transforming into energy patterns that followed no known physics. Quantum field manipulation allows us to rewrite the basic rules of reality within localized areas, Dr. Park explained calmly while Veltar watched fundamental forces of nature bend to human will. We can make energy behave like matter, cause time to flow backward, or simply convince atoms that they no longer wish to exist. Veltar's translator finally failed completely, producing only static as his species' language had no terms for the existential terror he experienced. These humans had not simply improved galactic technology, they had learned to reshape reality itself according to their desires. Commander Kim noticed Veltar's distress and guided him to a comfortable chair. We hope this demonstration shows our gratitude for your initial assistance, he said gently. Your weapons trade gave us the foundation to understand that every tool has unlimited potential if approached with sufficient creativity. Dr. Park nodded enthusiastically. Every weapon can be improved, every limitation can be overcome, and every rule can be rewritten if you understand the underlying principles. We call this the human doctrine, the belief that nothing is impossible if you think creatively enough. The Grand Assembly Hall on Nexus Prime had never hosted such a massive gathering. Representatives from over 3,000 civilizations filled the enormous chamber, their various atmospheric requirements creating a complex maze of environmental fields and breathing apparatus systems. Veltar stood at the central testimony platform, his forearms trembling slightly as he faced the largest political gathering in galactic history. The Galactic Trade Commission had called this emergency session after receiving alarming reports from merchants across known space. The chair of the commission, an ancient being known as Coordinator Zephyran, gestured for silence with tentacles that had witnessed the rise and fall of countless civilizations. Captain Veltar of the Zelkari Consortium, Zephyran announced, his voice carrying through translation systems to thousands of different species. You have requested this emergency session to address what you termed the human problem. Present your evidence. Veltar activated his holographic display, showing sensor readings and technical specifications that had been gathered from dozens of different sources. The data painted a picture that defied everything the galactic community understood about technological development. Honored representatives, he began, his translator working to convert his words into hundreds of different languages simultaneously. 6 months ago, the species known as humans contacted our trading network seeking basic defensive weapons. They appeared primitive, desperate, and technologically inferior to even the most basic galactic civilizations. The display showed human technology from their first contact, chemical rockets, kinetic weapons, and energy sources that barely qualified as spaceworthy. Murmurs of recognition rippled through the assembly as representatives recognized similar patterns from their own first encounters with primitive species. Today, Veltar continued, his voice growing stronger, these same humans possess military technology that exceeds our most advanced capabilities. They did not simply copy our weapons, they fundamentally improved them using principles that challenge our understanding of physics itself. The holographic display shifted to show current human capabilities. Plasma weapons with impossible power outputs. Antimatter systems that operated beyond theoretical safety limits. Faster-than-light drives that exceeded galactic speed records. Energy shields that could protect entire planets. The technical specifications drew gasps of disbelief from the assembled representatives. Captain Thoa eyes of the Vorthak collective rose from his designated seating area, his insectoid form clicking nervously. I can confirm Captain Veltar's testimony. I sold basic FTL technology to the humans. Within weeks, their exploration vessels appeared in distant sectors using drives that operated at speeds we considered impossible. Similar confirmations came from throughout the assembly. Merchant Zixara testified about shield technology that had been improved beyond recognition. The hegemony representative described medical scanners transformed into biological warfare systems. The Outer Rim traders reported mining equipment enhanced into planet-destroying weapons. Dr. Kesval of the Scientific Advisory Council requested permission to address the assembly. The elderly researcher had spent centuries studying technological development patterns across the galaxy, and his expertise carried significant weight in trade commission decisions. The human development pattern violates every known law of technological advancement, he announced, his translation creating subtle harmonics that suggested deep concern. Normal civilizations require centuries or millennia to achieve significant improvements to existing technology. Humans accomplish the same advances in weeks or months. He activated his own data display, showing comparison charts between human development rates and galactic norms. The differences were staggering, technological advancement curves that rose at angles that should have been impossible to maintain. More disturbing is their approach to technology itself, Dr. Kesval continued. Most civilizations develop specialized applications for specific tools. Humans see every piece of technology as having unlimited potential for modification and improvement. They find weapons applications in medical equipment, turn communication systems into mind control devices, and convert transportation technology into reality-warping weapons. The testimony continued for hours as representative after representative shared similar experiences. The pattern was identical across all reports: initial human desperation, rapid technological mastery, then advancement beyond the original traders' capabilities. Every civilization that had provided weapons technology to humans found themselves technologically inferior within months. Ambassador Thalnix of the Core Worlds requested specific clarification about human capabilities. Are you suggesting that humans now possess technology superior to our combined civilizations? Veltar consulted his data carefully before responding. In every category where they have received initial technology, yes. Their plasma weapons exceed consortium military specifications. Their FTL drives operate faster than Vorthak exploration vessels. Their shield systems surpass core world planetary defenses. They have improved every piece of technology they have encountered. The implications sent waves of concerned discussion throughout the assembly. If humans continued advancing at these rates, they would soon possess technology beyond anything known to galactic civilization. The species that had begged for basic defensive weapons just months earlier was rapidly becoming the most technologically advanced civilization in known space. Coordinator Zephyran called for formal proposals to address the situation. Several representatives suggested military action, but the combat reports made such options clearly impossible. Human defensive capabilities now exceeded anything the combined galactic fleets could deploy effectively. The solution came from an unexpected source. Ambassador Wei Ta of the Neutral Trade Alliance proposed what became known as the Terran Exclusion Protocol. We cannot stop human technological development through force, he argued. But we can prevent further acceleration by restricting their access to advanced technology. The proposal was elegant in its simplicity. No galactic civilization would be permitted to trade weapons technology with humans more than once. Medical technology, communication systems, transportation drives, energy sources, any technology with potential weapons applications would be restricted from human trade. The debate continued for 2 full days, but the evidence was overwhelming. Every representative had heard similar stories from their own merchant communities. The human ability to rapidly improve any technology they encountered posed an unprecedented threat to galactic stability. The final vote was unanimous. The Terran Exclusion Protocol would take effect immediately, prohibiting all galactic civilizations from providing advanced technology to humans. Trade restrictions would be enforced by the combined authority of the Galactic Trade Commission, with severe penalties for violations. On Earth, Admiral Yoon Haijin received the last rejection letter from the Altarian Weapons Guild. Like dozens of others, it cited the New Galactic Accord as the reason for refusing human trade requests. She gathered the documents together and called her research staff to the main conference room. Dr. Choi Minute-jun arrived with his usual enthusiasm, carrying data tablets filled with theoretical research. Dr. Lee Subin brought technical specifications from their latest weapons development projects. The entire research team gathered around the conference table with expressions of curious anticipation. It seems the galactic community has decided we are advancing too quickly, Admiral Yoon announced, showing them the collection of rejection letters. They have implemented trade restrictions to prevent us from acquiring additional alien technology. Dr. Choi examined the letters with interest rather than concern. This is actually quite complimentary. They consider our development rates threatening enough to require coordinated action across thousands of civilizations. Admiral Yoon smiled with the same confidence that now characterized all human military leadership. Their solution assumes we need their technology to continue advancing. Dr. Choi, what is our current understanding of dimensional manipulation theory? Dr. Choi's eyes lit up with excitement as he activated his data tablets. We have made significant progress since studying the quantum field principles from the antimatter weapons. We believe we can begin practical experiments within months. The research team gathered around Dr. Choi's display with the eager enthusiasm of scientists approaching a fascinating problem. Admiral Yoon made a final entry in her official log. Galactic arms trade now closed to humanity per Terran Exclusion Protocol. Recommend immediate acceleration of independent weapons development programs. Human technological advancement will continue regardless of external restrictions. The galaxy would soon discover that cutting off human access to alien weapons technology had not solved their problem. It had simply motivated humanity to become entirely self-sufficient in the art of war.